Hey everybody, it's Scott Scheller from Extreme Performance Training Systems. I'm actually coming to you in this video from the original site of Extreme Performance Training Systems. I'm down in my basement dungeon. This is where the gym started. As you can tell, it's been a while since I've done anything down here, but ever since we got put on our stay-at-home order here in Gwinnett County where I live, I've been kind of scrambling, trying to clean up a little bit down here and reorganize so I could throw some gear down here and at least have a little base of operations while we're riding out this coronavirus storm. So in today's video, I want to talk to you a little bit about back health. I've talked to a lot of people who said even though they're working from home nowadays, that they're kind of stuck at home, they're not out and about as much as they normally are. They've been doing a lot more sitting, whether they're binging on Netflix or whether they're working from the home office or they're not getting up and going to the gym or getting up and taking some walks or runs or whatever. But due to the increased sitting, that can put you at risk for developing a sore back or some back pain. Now, the reason is that when we sit, our hips in a flex position. So when our hips in that flex position, our psoas muscle, P-S-O-A-S, psoas muscle, often referred to as the hidden prankster because it is the cause of a lot of lower back pain. But the psoas muscle gets really tight. Now the psoas muscle, to the best of my knowledge, is the only muscle in the body that does not have an opposing muscle group, as it goes from the front of the thigh through the hip and attaches at the lumbar vertebrae. So a lot of times when we have back pain, it's because that psoas muscle gets short and tight, all right? So if we're doing a lot of sitting and our hips in that flex position, that psoas muscle is gonna get shorter, get tighter. It's gonna kind of become its new length. And then when we try to stand up, it pulls on the front of the thigh and also at the lumbar vertebrae. So it results in some back pain. So there's a couple things that we can do to make sure that we're training our back. You know, one of the things that I like to do at my gym, we have a reverse hyperextension from Westside Barbell, Louis Simmons, the brainchild of the device. And the device is amazing. It's one of the best things you can do for the lower back. But unless you have one at home, that's not something that you're going to be able to access unless you're at the gym. So I want to look at some things that we can do in our home-based fitness training that will help keep the lower back strong and healthy. So we're going to look at a couple stretches. We're also going to look at a couple strengthening exercises. So let's look at the strength exercises first. The two that I want to show in this video, now if you're doing kettlebell swings, if you're doing deadlifts, if you're doing dumbbell Romanian deadlifts or stiff-legged deadlifts, there's going to be a lot of strength exercises that you're doing already that are really going to be good for the lower back. But one of my favorite ones to do is often pretty overlooked exercise. If you've got a band, now the best bands for this exercise are the ones that are like the big rubber band style here, like the old jump stretch bands or the West Side bands or whatever. But the ones that are full circles are better for this exercise. What it is, it's a banded good morning. Now, if you just got the bands with handles, that's fine. You can probably step on the bands and hold the handles at the back and do this exercise. But I really like using the full jump stretch style band because we're gonna hang the band over the base of the neck. And then all we got to do is step down onto the other end of the band to get our tension. So what we're going to see here is that with the band stretching over the neck, over the traps, down to the feet, so it's pulling down on me. So what I'm going to do is do a good morning exercise. Now for the good morning, all we're going to do is we're going to stick the hips back and then drive forward. So we want to make sure, try to do it from the side here so you can see, we want to make sure that we maintain an arch in the lower back and that we're just hinging at the hips. It's okay if the knees unlock here, and then we're going to snap the hips forward. Almost like a kettlebell swing type of movement. But this banded good morning is an excellent variation for strengthening up the lower backs. It's going to work the glutes and the hamstrings a little bit too. But we do the banded good mornings for really high reps because when we do a lot of repetitions, it pumps a lot of blood. We get a lot of circulation in the lower back muscles. Now, it's often been told to me that the lower back is mostly comprised of connective tissue. It's not as much muscle tissue. So the connective tissue doesn't have as good of a blood supply as the muscles do. So by doing the really high rep banded good mornings or even the high rep kettlebell swings and some of those other exercises, we're going to get a lot more circulation into the muscle, into the connective tissue in the lower back, which is going to help make that tissue stronger and healthier. So I've seen bands get kind of bashed a lot. I don't know why. I guess it's not, it's pretty uncool or it's not manly to use bands. But bands are some of the best things that you can do for joint health and joint integrity. And that banded good morning done for really high reps, we like to start at 4 sets of about 20 to 25, and we like to really pump those reps up to 30 to 50%. Try to do between 100 to 200 at the lower end, 200 to 300 at the higher end, total reps per workout. But those will go a long way at really helping to strengthen up the lower back. So You have to play with the band tension a little bit to make sure that the band, it allows you to get those high repetitions, but that's one great exercise that you need for back health. The other is the bird dog. Now the bird dog is often looked at as a quote unquote therapy exercise, but it's also a very kind of underappreciated exercise when it comes to lower back strength and health, in my opinion. The bird dog is performed by getting on all fours, and you're basically going to be extending, say for instance, the right arm in the left leg. So we're using the opposite leg that of the arm that we're lifting. So if we're going to raise the right arm, we're going to raise the left leg, and vice versa, the left arm, the right leg. Now the bird dog begins on all fours. What we want to pay attention to when we do the bird dog is that we're maintaining proper spinal alignment, meaning we're holding a neutral spine. All right. You don't want to pick your head up and look forward as you're in this position. You don't want to round your back or arch your back like a cat camel exercise. We want to maintain a neutral spine for the duration of this exercise. The other thing is too, we want to make sure that the hips aren't rotating side to side. So we want to make sure that the chest and the pelvis stays locked together as we're raising the arm and the leg up to about parallel to the ground. So again, bird dog, you're going to get on all fours. All right. And again, you want to make sure that you're maintaining that neutral spine. So my head's not looking forward, my back's not arched or rounded like a cat camel. I'm just getting into a neutral spine position. And then once I get into that neutral spine position with my thighs and my arms perpendicular to the ground, I'm going to brace my abs and I'm going to hold that neutral spine position as best I can as I raise the right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. All right. So again, we're getting into that quadruped position on all fours. Arms and thighs perpendicular to the ground. My spine is in a good neutral alignment. Now I'm going to brace my abs really tight, and as I hold this position, I'm going to raise the right arm and the left leg parallel to the ground. And then we're going to do the left arm, right leg. Again, making sure that we're not rotating the hips side to side and that we're holding that neutral spine. So the way that I usually like to do the bird dogs is I'll do all the repetitions that I'm shooting for with the right arm, left leg, and then I'll do the same number of repetitions with the left arm, right leg. Some people like to alternate. It really doesn't matter, but I just want to emphasize that use the variation that allows you to maintain a proper neutral spine. So those two strength exercises, the banded good mornings, done for really high reps, and then the bird dogs, again, I like to do those for really high reps. I usually start with sets of 15, maybe 10 to 15, and then I try to build up from there. And then once it gets to the point where you can do a lot of repetitions with the bird dog, another nice variation is to hold kind of a static position where you keep your arm and your leg extended, and then you make circles or kind of other geometric pictures. You can draw triangles or squares, whatever, it doesn't matter, but you're just trying to move the arm and the leg together to create motion that your body has to brace and stabilize against. So a sample of that would be to get into your bird dog position. You're going to raise that arm and leg up, and then you're just going to draw circles or other, some people like to try to spell the alphabet. You draw squares. It really doesn't matter. The whole point is you're trying to get the arm and the leg moving together so that you're creating kind of a dynamic condition while you're trying to hold a stable position, and that will really challenge the torso, the lower back, to stabilize the spine to a greater extent. And so again, higher repetitions, or in that bird dog, you could go with a static position where you're moving the arm and the leg. So those are the two strength exercises that I want to present in this video. The stretching exercises, the first one is a kneeling hip flexor stretch. There's 3 exercises that I always pay attention to do fairly regularly as I've dealt with back pain throughout my entire life. And these 3 really help to keep my hips loose. There's a whole bunch of other ones, great ones that you can do, but these 3 are kind of the staples in my program. The first one is the kneeling hip flexor stretch. With the kneeling hip flexor stretch, you're going to get down on one knee. So since I'm facing this side of the camera, I'm going to get down on my left knee. I'm going to put my right foot out in front of me. So you don't want it back like this. You want it out so that the shin's sloping forward. Because what we're going to do is we're going to push the hips forward while pulling the chest back. And that's going to create a pull up through the top of the quad into the front of the hip. And even up into the abdomen as you do this. Now you don't want to bend over that leg. You want to keep that chest up so that we're kind of bowing the body and you feel the stretch down here in the front of the hip. Once you get into the position of the greatest stretch, that side that you're stretching, go ahead and raise that arm up toward the ceiling. So you're going to reach up and you're going to turn away from the leg that you're stretching. And that will increase the stretch further up into the abdomen and into the hip flexor. So again, that's your kneeling hip flexor stretch. Those I like to hold 30, 60, sometimes even 90 seconds and just focus on really deep, relaxed breathing as I do them. Obviously, make sure you do them on both sides. So after the kneeling hip flexor stretch, one of my other favorite stretches is the outer hip stretch. Some people call this a pigeon stretch if you do yoga, but basically you just take your leg, you lay it diagonally across your body. So I'm going to take my right leg and I'm going to put my foot over the left side of my body, and I'm going to try to sit the outside of my lower leg and upper leg down, so it kind of creates a V in front of my body. All right, so you're getting kind of in that position, and what you see here is that the outer part of the hip, the glute medius, is being stretched. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch legs just for the camera perspective. So once you get into that position, if that's tight, you can go ahead and hold that, or you can start to go down to the elbows, to the forearms. You can extend your arms out in front of you, and that'll put more stretch on that outer hip. Specifically, the glute medius is what's stretched in that outer hip stretch. Now, if the pigeon stretch is hard on your knees or you have a hard time getting into it, another variation is to do it sitting down on a chair or a bench. So the second variation for that outer hip or that pigeon stretch would be to sit cross-legged in the figure 4 position. Keep the back arch and the chest up, and then basically what you're going to do is you're going to lean forward, folding at the hips like you're trying to touch the toes of the bottom foot, and you'll feel the stretch out here in the outside of that hip. So this is a great second variation if you can't do a regular pigeon stretch or outer hip stretch, on the ground. The last stretch that I like to do is a hamstring stretch. So we've done the hip flexors, top of the quads, we've done the outer hips, and then I always like to do some form of hamstring stretching. Now, the big thing with hamstring stretches that make them ineffective for people is a lot of times people tend to round the back and not focus the stretch into the hamstring. So I'll show you two variations of the hamstring stretch that I like. One is a standing hamstring stretch, where I'm going to take a leg out in front of me. I'm going to keep that leg straight, and I'm going to squat down on the back leg. And as I do, I'm hinging at the hips, much like I do when I do a kettlebell swing or a deadlift, as I go down to the toe. So if you see, I'm keeping my back arched in a neutral position. I'm not rounding that back as I go down. Keeping the chest up, hinging at the hip as I go down, and that places the stretch on the hamstring, and I'm not rounding my back to get down there. So that's a standing hamstring stretch variation. The seated variation would be our typical hamstring hurdler stretch. We're going to extend one leg, we're going to tuck a leg back, and we're going to turn so that we're facing the foot of the leg that we're stretching. And again, we're going to fold at the hips. I'm not going to round my back to try to get down. I'm going to keep that chest up, I'm going to fold at the hips. When you do that, you're going to feel the stretch come on a lot faster. So go for that toe if you can. If you can't, you can use a band or a strap. Just take it over the foot, and that will give you something to pull on, allowing you to keep that lower back arch and that chest up, so that you're placing the stretch on the hamstring and not rounding the lower back. So those two exercises, the banded good mornings and the bird dogs, are two great strength exercises you can work in your home-based fitness program for lower back strength and health. And then the stretches that I like to do kind of work the front, the side, and the back of the hip and the hamstring. You've got the kneeling hip flexor stretch, you've got the outer hip or the pigeon stretch, and then you've got your hamstring stretch. So if you're not currently doing these, go ahead and work those into your program. Again, with the strength exercises, I like to push for higher repetitions so we get a lot of good blood flow and circulation into the lower back muscles and connective tissue. And then for the stretches, I find that what works best for me is to do longer duration stretches where I can just let the muscle relax as I focus on really deep abdominal breathing, almost like a meditation breathing, where you're breathing into your lower abdomen, taking deep, long, relaxing breaths, and that really allows the muscles to relax. A lot of times people will stretch until they get to pain and they start taking these short, choppy breaths, and the muscles just tighten up. We're trying to reduce the nervous system contraction on the muscle. We're trying to shut that nervous system response down so the muscle can totally unwind and relax. There are other advanced forms of stretching like PNF, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, or contract relax type stretching. There's many other ways to stretch a muscle, but just for basic relaxation purposes, I like longer durations, like even up to a minute and a half or longer, where I just focus on really deep relax, abdominal breathing to allow the muscles to relax. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and this gives you some good tips on keeping your lower back strong and healthy while you're engaging in your home-based fitness program. If you've got any questions, please feel free to DM me through my social media, shoot me an email at scott@eptsgym.com. All that information is going to be down on the notes below this video as well. If you got any comments or questions, you can also leave them in the comment section of wherever you're watching this video, whether it's on my YouTube channel or if you see on my social media page. If you got any suggestions for future topics, if there's any exercises you want me to cover, if there's any training techniques that you want to know about as far as home-based training. Again, a lot of us are stuck doing these home-based fitness programs from a minimalistic standpoint. We don't have access to a lot of equipment, so I want to help you get the most out of what you have access to. So feel free to send me those questions, and I'll be sure to address those in future videos. If you find this information useful, please share this video and encourage other people to subscribe to my YouTube channel, to like it, comment on it, whatever I can do to help you while we're all enduring this horrible time right now. I'm happy to help. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you want some specific assistance with your programming, I do offer various types of online coaching and consultation. Feel free to shoot me a message at scott@eptsgym.com if you'd like more information on my coaching programs, my online coaching programs. But in the meantime, I'm always going to be pumping out as much content as I can on my social media and my YouTube channel. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you get updates on future videos. And until next time, stay strong and stay healthy.